Hello, my friend. Welcome to my podcast. I'm so happy you are here with me today. Every time I record, I feel grateful because maybe my story, my experience, can help you in your own journey with English. I believe that when we share our struggles and victories, we give other people the courage to continue. And that's why I love talking to you here. Because if my words can make your path a little easier, then everything I went through was worth it. Today, I want to tell you about one of the most important moments in my English journey. It was the day I realized that if I wanted to speak fluently, I had to stop translating everything in my head. I had to start thinking in English. And let me tell you, this was not easy. For years, my brain worked like a machine. I thought in my language, I translated, and then I tried to speak. And of course, by the time the words were ready, the moment had already passed. The conversation had already moved on, and I was left behind, frustrated again. I remember very clearly the first time I noticed this problem. I was talking to someone, and they asked me a very simple question. A question any child could answer. But in my head, I heard the question. I translated it. I prepared the answer in my language. Then I tried to translate it back into English. And while I was doing all this, I stayed silent. By the time I finally said something, it was too late. I felt slow, unnatural, and embarrassed. That's when it hit me. As long as I keep translating, I will never be fluent. At first, this idea scared me. How can I think in a language that is not mine? How can I stop the habit of translation? It felt impossible. But deep inside, I knew this was the way. So I started small. I told myself, Tommy, don't wait for the perfect moment. Just begin. Even if it's hard, begin. And that's what I did. I started by trying to describe my world in English, not with perfect sentences, not with complex grammar, but with simple thoughts. And in the beginning, it was so uncomfortable. My brain resisted. My brain wanted to run back to translation because that was safe, that was familiar. But I knew that if I wanted freedom, I had to break this cycle. I'll be honest with you, it took time. It was not one day or 1 week. It was a process of training my mind, of catching myself when I was about to translate, and gently bringing myself back to English. And little by little, something magical happened. English stopped being this foreign object in my head. It started to feel like a voice, a small voice at first, but it was there. A voice that didn't need translation. A voice that spoke directly. The day I noticed it for the first time, I was shocked. I was walking outside, thinking about what I had to do, and suddenly I realized my thoughts were in English. Not perfect English, not fast English, but real English, my own thoughts. And I felt free. I felt like I had discovered a secret door that was always there, waiting for me to open it. From that moment on, everything became lighter. Speaking was no longer about building sentences with pieces of translation. It was about letting the thoughts flow. And yes, sometimes the sentences were broken, sometimes the words were missing, but it didn't matter. Because I was no longer stuck in translation. I was free to speak with what I had. This experience taught me one of the biggest lessons of my life. Fluency is not about knowing every word. Fluency is about training your brain to think in the language. When you stop translating, you stop hesitating. When you stop hesitating, you start speaking. And when you start speaking, you start living the language. That was the day I understood that English was not just something I studied, it was something I could think in, something I could live in. And from there, my confidence grew, my fluency grew, and my fear began to disappear. So if you are listening to me now, my friend, remember this. The real secret to fluency is not in a grammar book. It's not in memorizing long lists of vocabulary. The real secret is in your mind. The moment you start thinking in English, even in small ways, you are already free. That was my story. And I promise, it can be yours, too. After I started thinking in English, something else began to change inside me. At first, it was just small moments, a thought here, a sentence there. But soon, it started to affect the way I felt about myself. For the first time, I was not just a student of English. I was a person who lived with English in my daily life. And that gave me confidence, not only to practice, but to actually believe in my own progress. You see, for many years, I thought confidence would come after fluency. I used to tell myself, when I am fluent, then I will feel confident. But I discovered the truth was the opposite. Confidence comes first. Fluency follows. When I allowed myself to think in English, even if it was slow, even if it was simple, I was training not just my brain, but also my heart. I was proving to myself that I could do it. And every little victory became fuel for the next step. There was a moment that I will never forget. I was in a conversation, and for the first time, I didn't feel panic when someone asked me a question. I didn't freeze. I didn't run back to translation. I just answered. It was not perfect, it was not fast, but it was natural. And in that moment, I felt something I had never felt before. Freedom. The kind of freedom that comes when you stop fighting with yourself and finally trust the process. From that day, English stopped being this heavy weight on my shoulders. It became a tool, something I could use, even imperfectly. And that's when I truly understood. Confidence is not about never being afraid. Confidence is about speaking even when you are afraid. It is about showing up, opening your mouth, and trusting that what you have is enough. And let me tell you, my friend, once you experience that shift, once you taste that freedom, there is no going back. You realize that all the years of silence, all the hesitation, were never necessary. The only thing you ever needed was the courage to begin. And when you begin, the path opens in front of you. After I discovered that confidence was the key, my relationship with English completely changed. It was no longer a subject I studied or an obligation I carried like a heavy backpack. It became part of my identity, part of who I was. I stopped seeing English as something outside of me, and started to see it as something that lived inside me. And that made all the difference. Before, when I thought about English, I felt stress, pressure, and sometimes even shame. But now, when I thought about English, I felt curiosity, excitement, and possibility. It was like discovering a new world that had always been waiting for me. A world of movies, books, songs, conversations, friendships, and opportunities. A world that opened its doors the moment I stopped fighting and started accepting that I was already capable. It's funny to say this, but I remember the exact day I realized English had become part of me. I was walking alone, thinking about my plans for the week, and only after a few minutes I noticed that all my thoughts were in English. Not forced, not intentional, just natural. And I smiled, because I understood. This was no longer practice. This was my life. That moment gave me a deep sense of pride. Not because I was perfect, but because I was authentic. I was living something that for years I thought was impossible. And the truth is, the only difference between the old Tommy and the new Tommy was persistence. I didn't find a magic formula. I didn't wake up fluent one day. I just kept going, day after day, step by step, until the fear lost its power. And this is why I tell you, my friend, don't measure your progress by perfection. Measure it by presence. If English is present in your life every day, even in small ways, then progress is inevitable. You may not notice it today, or even tomorrow, but one day you will look back and realize how far you've come. And in that moment, you will feel the same pride I felt. English stopped being something I did. It became part of who I am. And once you reach that point, you understand. Fluency is not just about language. Fluency is about freedom. So, my friend, we are arriving at the end of this episode. And I want to take this time not just to close the story, but to really leave you with something powerful to carry into your life. Because maybe you listened to me today, and you thought, yes, Tommy, that makes sense. But my case is different. My fear is stronger. My mistakes are bigger. My journey is longer. And I want to tell you, no, my friend, you are not different. You are not behind. You are not broken. You are simply on the path. And the path is the same for all of us. When I look back at my own journey, I see a person who was full of doubts, who wanted to give up many times, who believed that English was for other people, not for him. And yet, here I am, speaking to you now. Not perfectly, not without mistakes, but freely, naturally, with confidence. And if I could arrive here, then you can too. The difference between those who arrive and those who don't is not talent. It is persistence. It is choosing, again and again, not to stop. I know there will be days when you feel tired, days when you feel like you are not progressing, days when you open your mouth and nothing comes out, and you think, what's the point? I'll never get there. And in those moments, I want you to remember my voice. Remember me telling you this. The fact that you are trying already means you are progressing. The fact that you are here, listening, learning, means you are already different from the person who gave up. And that matters. Fluency is not a magic moment when suddenly everything becomes easy. Fluency is a collection of small victories, one after another, until one day you look back and realize the distance you have traveled. Every mistake is part of that victory. Every hesitation is part of that victory. Every time you open your mouth, even if you feel nervous, that is part of the victory. Because fluency is not about avoiding mistakes. Fluency is about surviving them, continuing despite them, and discovering that the world doesn't end when you are imperfect. In fact, that is when the world opens for you. I want to tell you something important. People don't care if your English is perfect. People care if you connect. People care if you are honest, if you are present, if you are yourself. The world doesn't need your perfect sentences. The world needs your voice. And your voice, exactly as it is today, is enough. Sometimes we think fluency will give us confidence. But the truth is, confidence gives us fluency. You don't need to wait to be perfect to start speaking. You need to start speaking to feel confident. And once you do that, the circle begins. You speak, you feel confident, you improve, you speak more, you feel even more confident, and on and on. That's how it happens. That's how it happened for me, and that's how it will happen for you too. So as I finish this episode, I want you to remember this one thing. English is not outside of you. English is already inside you. Every word you know, every phrase you have heard, every attempt you have made, it is all there, waiting for you to be brave enough to use it. The words are in your head. The only thing stopping them is fear. And fear disappears when you act. My friend, I want to say thank you. Thank you for listening to me today. Thank you for giving me your time, your attention, your heart. Every time you press play on this podcast, you are not only learning English, you are walking this path with me, and I don't take that for granted. I feel grateful, I feel blessed, because my pain, my struggles, my mistakes are now becoming your inspiration, and that gives meaning to everything I went through. If this story touched you, if you felt connected, if it made sense to you, please do something for me. Leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and share this episode with someone who also needs it. When you do that, you are not just helping me, you are helping other people who are still lost in fear, who are still silent, who need to hear that they are not alone. Together, we are building a community, a family of learners who support each other. And I am so thankful to see this family growing every single day. I read your comments, I see your messages, and every word you write motivates me to continue. So please, don't be shy. Write your thoughts. Tell me how this story connected with you. Tell me what part made you think, yes, that's me. Your words matter, and they may also inspire someone else who is reading. Now, before we say goodbye, I want to leave you with this final thought. English will not change your life just because of the language itself. English will change your life because of the doors it opens, the people you will meet, the opportunities that will appear, the confidence that will grow inside you. English is not the end. English is the beginning of a life with more freedom, more connection, more possibilities. So don't stop. Even when it feels slow, even when it feels hard, don't stop. Because the only way to lose is to quit. And I promise you, if you keep going, you will get there. I believe in you. Truly, deeply, I believe in you. Thank you again, my dear friend. Thank you for being part of this journey with me. I send you all my gratitude, all my respect, and all my encouragement. Let's keep walking together, step by step, day by day. And now, as we finish, I will ask you once more, if this episode made sense to you, please subscribe, please leave a like, and please share it. That is how we grow, how we reach more people, how we change more lives. To everyone who has already subscribed, to everyone who is supporting this channel, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Truly, thank you. That's it for today, my friend. I'll see you in the next episode. Take care. Keep practicing. Keep believing. And remember, mistakes don't matter. Effort matters. Much love. Thank you so much. And bye-bye.